Good evening and welcome back to the Student Hub Live Refreshers Orientation event. Well, in this evening's programme, we've got heaps lined up for you, including things like note-taking, learning about the association, the Open University Students Association, and we're also going to take a look at space and see what some colleagues are doing in terms of some interesting research. But before we do that, we're going to talk about the Open qualification, one of the key features of the Open University and something that we think all students need to know about. So to discuss this, I'm joined by John Baxter, who is the Qualification Director for the Open degree. And you also do other things as well, if that weren't enough. You're a staff tutor, so you oversee associate lecturers, and you've also been doing research in the School of Life, Health and Chemical Sciences. Right. So it's all very interesting, but now just to talk about the Open programme, and we have Rahana as well. You have a number of different hats, but here today you to talk about the Open programme also, right. And you've got experience as a tutor, which is great.
That's right.
And Linda, you're a student within the Open programme, so you're going to give us your experiences. But most interestingly is a map that you've brought, Rahana.
That's right. So this is our student journey map. So we tried to map what we think at the Open programme. The team got together to discuss what we felt the journey is for our students when they come and study on the Open programme. That can be certificate, diploma or degree.
Tilt it up a little bit.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Lovely.
Is that all right?
That's perfect.
Okay. So this is something that we'd like students to feed back on as well, so to give us information about whether they feel that this is accurate or not, and to talk through it. I think John's going to go through it in a little bit more detail to identify those bits.
Now, these maps are very in right now, aren't they? Why did you decide to do one of these, and why was it important to plot the various different parts of that learning journey, Rahana?
So visual representation, so using maps as metaphors, so looking at ways of representing information and journeys in something that's kind of diagrammatic or pictorial is a really useful way of unpicking and identifying certain areas that might be important for students, where they get stuck or where they have shared experiences, where's their support and information that they can go to and find. And that's what we kind of try to do with the map.
Because sometimes it can make a useful talking point when you're being a little bit more lateral with things. And I guess a map, like you say, is a good way of getting student feedback. Why is that so important then? I mean, surely if you've got access to all students.
Yeah, well, I think it's about identifying sticking points and shared experience, but also in listening and looking at the student journey as not a linear path, but something that's kind of a combination of lots of different events that kind of go together and can be significant at different points in their student journey. It helps to inform the Open qualifications as well in terms of what we do into the way that the programme is planned and the support that the university can give to students at specific points in their journey as well.
Brilliant. Now, we should probably tell students who might not know what the Open programme is and what makes that distinct from just general OU study. So we'll return to this. John, tell us about what it is for people who don't know.
Well, the Open programme is a very flexible way of getting a degree. I mean, it means you have to study 120 points of level 1 study, 120 points at level 2 and 120 points at level 3, which are the equivalent of years in a traditional university. But in essence, you can study absolutely anything. Now, most people have structure within it and don't study absolutely anything, but we are very flexible and we're very proud, and that's why we have the Open degree with the same name as the university. So it's so good we named it twice.
And it's very popular, isn't it?
It is very popular. It's almost the biggest degree. It always was the biggest degree in the university, but it's only just recently been taken over by psychology. But
yeah, fine. But yeah.
We'll get them back.
Oh yes, I'm sure you will. But students like it because of that flexibility.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the things that students don't often realise is that, you know, very often you start on this broad level 1 module that covers a huge range of things, but you can opt in and opt out of a named qualification or an Open qualification, can't you?
You can. I mean, some students start on a named qualification, I should say,
like psychology.
Like psychology or astronomy or whatever, and find that they get to a point where they want to study something else. It might be because they don't want to study a particular module, or it might be because they're suddenly interested in something new that's been thrown up by their life or by their studies. And the Open degree allows them to step sideways, to not be rigidly defined in a single programme of study, but to take on board new interests. That might be to do with how they work. It might be just something that they're interested in because they're interested in it.
We started today by asking people why they were studying and what they were studying, all sorts of things. We've got really varied answers. And we've got some widgets now for you also, which we'd love you to tell us about. We'd like to know where you are in the country, how you're feeling, also which level you're studying. Now, if you haven't taken part in any of these beforehand, they're really, really simple. Things like multiple choice questions just require you to click on the option that applies to you. Things like the Wordles, they need 3 boxes. So if you can only think of 1 or 2, that's fine, but you do need to press 3 things in each box. So just put a full stop or a cross or something, and then your results will submit also. We'd like to know what you're studying and why you're studying, what are you most excited about, what are you most worried about, and also whether you're studying a named qualification or an open qualification. And HJ and Simon are on the chat. Simon, you've returned to the other side of the table on the hot desk for the first time.
Indeed. It's fab. It's great. Lots of people are talking about where they think they are on the map.
Great.
Several people think they're up near Nessie, so I told them to get a photo for proof.
Yes, too right.
Yes, and Louise is thinking of buying some sort of property on the Isle of Loss. But, you know, maybe just rent somewhere though. You know.
Yeah, see how it goes.
Yeah.
And William and Maxine said they're somewhere near the middle, so the land of engagement and belonging, which is really nice to hear. But in the chat, we've got lots of people just starting off, which is fantastic. Bernie's doing YO32, I think it's our favourite access module.
Oh, yes.
Matthew's starting YO33 and Jeanette on YO31. William's starting A111, the first arts module, which is a really nice, interesting module to get going. There's a couple of people doing classical studies and primary education and psychology as well. So there's lots of people on different paths. And I think the great thing about the open degree that we like is that you can mix up and just follow what you want. And hopefully you'll find your way on the map as well.
So shall we go through some of the detail on this map then and see? We've also been asking people, and if you haven't contributed yet, which level are you studying and what you're studying as well. Right now, though, John, 81% of students watching are studying a named qualification,
Okay.
and 71% are at level 1, so right at the start of their learning journey.
Well, even on a named qualification, there'll be elements of taking on board different disciplines in the early modules. So the openings modules or the access modules in particular do take on board lots of different subjects and give people a taste. But I mean, we've on the map here, we've got this sort of rather strange star-shaped thing suggesting that people may want to be specialists, they want to be multidisciplinary, they may want to be interdisciplinary, or they may be general. And those reflect different levels of either studying in one area, like in a specialist area, which might be psychology, it might be languages, it could be one of a number of different things, or there are students which bring together lots of different subjects, and we could talk through what those different terms mean, but at level 1, I think students will be studying a mixture of different subjects, and we would say they were undertaking some multidisciplinary subject, even if it was, say, in humanities. You'll be studying a variety of different disciplines and subjects.
Why have you made the Loch Ness Monster for time management, and why isn't it a massive dragon or something?
Well, for some students, for most students, time management, I would suggest from experience, is quite big, and perhaps the Loch Ness Monster needs to be bigger. But perhaps these sharks over here need to be bigger. Perhaps lack of confidence at level 1 might be somewhere. And there will be many students that have issues with their health or disability for which that iceberg might loom large. It might be that people aren't confident that they're going to have the same level of health they've got when they start their studies, and there are all sorts of mechanisms for supporting students through difficult times. And we have on the far end, we have an island of support with different mountains and different labels about student recruitment, support when students are starting off on their studies, support from the library and from advisors. And we hope that those different elements of support can help people overcome the difficulties that time management might throw up if they're very busy with other things. My favourite, I shouldn't say this, is the octopus, if it is an octopus, of commitments with all its tentacles dragging you down. And I think that is an issue for many of us when we study is family commitments, caring commitments, and so on. But hopefully we try and get the elements of support in there that help people overcome these issues.
And this is particularly important because whilst, as you say, there may be issues for any OU student to do with these areas, for students on an open programme, there's a slight difference because whereas some students who might be doing psychology might feel really embedded within a community, they might know people, they might be moving on up every time with those. Whereas someone doing an open qualification may be doing a bit of chemistry one month or something, and then the next year they're doing something completely different. And so for those students, they're picking up different skills and also meeting different students. So I guess that they may not sometimes feel as connected. So they might need maybe some more support or guidance as they're working through. But equally, the benefits are so great because you can just tailor make something for yourself.
I mean, I think for some students, they're confident and independent and move smoothly from one subject to another. We do provide places where they can form informal communities. We have an open degree forum where students can share experiences and build a little bit of an interdisciplinary community. But you're right, it can be more challenging for students changing subjects every year. But again, sometimes that can be a good thing for some people. It's a way of building their own resilience and proving to themselves they can study in different areas.
And I guess in terms of the support, the other thing that's worth mentioning is that you can't all of a sudden get to level 3 after, say, doing psychology and think, right, let's try a bit of chemistry then. There needs to be some element of scaffolding for certain modules, doesn't there?
Yeah, we provide recommended routes through the open degree, so level 1, level 2 studies that support each other. We don't recommend you do quantum physics if you've never studied maths or physics before. We do. There's all sorts of advice there, and if I mean, what I would always say to students is if you're not sure, then talk to somebody.
Yeah.
There's always someone on the end of the phone in the student support teams that will know the modules, will know how to advise you, and that's a key thing. Don't ever, suffer in silence. If you're worried about your choices, then talk to the people at student support.
And those educational advisors, they know the qualification routes and they can best suggest, I guess, for what you're doing. You've also mentioned careers as well. So again, thinking about what meets your life and career aspirations is important.
I think that's right. And the other part of the university that will sometimes in your study, the library will be a really important place if you're particularly in the later years of study when you're investigating a project or and having to look out into the wider literature. Then the colleagues in the library will offer a lot of support. So at different times in your life of study, we expect that you would tend to draw on different parts of the university for your support.
Now, I've asked everyone at home if they can suggest any areas that are missing here. Linda, you had an interesting
Can I pick up from
observation.
round
Yeah. Well, you can
Sorry.
put it down if you
Can we
like
put it
as well.
down? Thank you. I really thought there should be something similar to a spa or hotel, and that represents those that need some time out, either they've got an illness or a family issue, or they just want a break from studies. So maybe on the map, a spa area.
Yeah, brilliant, excellent. That'd be a very nice addition to all those threats out there as well. HJ and Simon, has anyone else got any suggestions at home?
Well, we were talking about where we were on the map as well, and Anne was saying the sea of TMA sounds about right as being on the map as well.
Jade was wondering what the octopus was. She suggested it could be her toddler.
Yeah.
So I think everybody has an octopus. I have older children, and they are very octopi-like. And then there was a question from Ingrid.
Yeah, fantastic question. Ingrid would like to know how employers feel about open degree compared to named degrees.
It's a really good question, and one of the things that we've identified is how important it is for students today in order to be able to face the challenges of employability in the future is to be able to look at different subjects. So we often talk about climate change as an example on the open programme and how that needs people to look at it from different disciplines, from different subject areas in order to be able to find solutions. So we've been doing work, we're planning on doing more work with employers because they are interested in the open degree, and we have feedback from students who have used it really positively. And I've got one example of a lovely student who was working at a university actually and was interested in widening participation student and statistics, and was able to study education modules along with our maths modules and tailor her degree for her career. She's gone on and since got a promotion. So there are some lovely stories to do with people doing really well from studying different subjects and having that ability to look at things differently and from different angles.
Brilliant. Does that answer Ingrid's question?
Yes, and there was another great question that I wanted to pick up on as well. Hayley said that I worry I have to choose modules to get the degree, and when she hits the right amount of credits, she might miss out on some of the modules she would have picked. So do you have any advice about picking the right modules and maybe what happens after if there's more you want to do?
It's hard picking modules.
It is hard picking modules, and I would say, as John mentioned, about talking to the student support teams and actually mapping out the qualification. I think mapping is really important. There's also a module chooser which is on our qualifications site that you can kind of start to look at the modules that you want to put into your overall degree to help you to choose them so that you're not missing out. I think that's the key. So to look at the bigger picture and then to sort of go module by module, I think is the easiest way to do that.
Yeah, it's always hard when there's so much to learn and so much to do, and I guess you have to then prioritise, don't you?
And also when you're interested in lots of different subjects as well, because the open degree is flexible in that way, you do want to think about where you're going to end up and what you need to have to get there as well. So definitely our student support teams are the best people for that.
And sometimes it's just good to do a little open learn course and get it out your system in the summer or when you're not studying, and then you can sort of concentrate on other things also. So Linda, tell us about your experience of the open programme and why you chose it.
Right, well, I started out not having studied for about 50 odd years, wanting to do something. I did an access module, the YO33, and then decided, oh, well, I'll do a degree. And I do like science, I do like maths. I thought I'd give it a go. And so I went through the first stage on the STEM module and decided I wanted to follow the path of astronomy and physics. But then it got towards the end of stage one and I thought, I'm going to be realistic here. I'm retired, I'm studying mainly for personal development. Do I want to be totally one-dimensional and just go down one route? I'd always loved Latin at school, but there's no way you can do Latin under a STEM pathway. So I literally phoned up student support, who are fantastic. What do I do? Floods of tears. Can't carry on anymore. This isn't for me. Help. And they suggested the open pathway, which, to be honest, I'd never heard of before. So I switched to the open. I'm now on level 2. I can still do the astronomy modules I would have done through the STEM, but I'm also doing Latin. So I'm combining my two favourite subjects, which is astronomy and Latin, two very diverse subjects, and enjoying them both.
And how did you feel about being with students doing one or the other? Did you ever feel that you weren't as connected to a group because you were choosing quite different areas?
Well, that's interesting because with the astronomy module, I've carried on with the same group that I did 2 other modules with, and we're like old family friends who swap photos of our various kids, grandchildren, cats, dogs, whatever. But now I've discovered a whole new lot of people on the Latin who are totally different, another set of nice people. So I've met more people and it's brilliant.
Excellent.
So I'm enjoying it.
We've had a hot trade and cat pictures going on today. We can take a look at our board behind HJ and Simon. Mainly cats, hasn't it been? Yeah. Everyone's been
Mainly
sending
cats,
their pictures.
some dogs, some different ones as well. Yeah,
And
we've
rats.
got Greenie and we've got Ross's study buddy as well, his rabbit. We've got lots of different ones that people are sending in and keeping them company throughout their study. And if you want to send some stuff in as well, we'd love to see it, whether it's a picture of where the view from where you are, or your study buddy, or something interesting you found. We'd love to see it. You can email it in, studenthub@open.ac.uk, and we've got loads of fantastic OU posters that we can send you as well if you want to see them.
And while you're there, HJ, because we've only got time for one question,
Yes.
let's hear what Robin wants to know.
Oh, yes, Robin had an absolutely fantastic question. So Robin said, I know we have a tutor to help us with our current module, but will we have someone like a mentor to help us move forward to our pathway?
All eyes on Rahana.
That's a great question. I would talk about the educational advisor as being that sort of mentor at the moment. They're probably the best person to sort of get advice from about where you're going and where you're studying, and where you want to end up. I think your tutor is for your current existing module, and you will then get a new tutor on your next module who will be able to give you advice and guidance for that part of your journey as well. I think that's a. What do you think, John?
Well, it's an old. It's a discussion we've had a lot over the years, and it's certainly something that there are many of us in the university feel might be a hole in student support. We can't, deny that it might actually be appropriate for people to have a tutor that takes them through the pathways.
But I guess it's so hard to get somebody who can specialise in astronomy and Latin, for example, or those different areas. So I guess the education advisors, they are specialists in their field, and it's about tapping into that expertise.
I mean, I think the educational advisors specialise in different areas of the curriculum.
Yeah.
You're right. So I think in order to get that breadth, you do need to access that team of people.
Brilliant. And the educational advisors are at the student support team, so if you're stuck with any questions, don't worry about their job title or anything, just phone the student support team for anything pastoral, anything academic related. Your tutor's the best point of contact, but call the student support team and they'll be able to put you in touch with the right person. Great, well that's been a fantastic session. You two are going to stay with me for our next session, and John, thank you very much for joining us. You can be released into the wild and go and eat all the cake you want and have a lovely beef bourguignon for dinner. We're going to talk about netiquette next, but first we're going to have a quick tour of the library, which is just over the road on our campus. Incidentally, everyone's welcome to come up to the Open University at Milton Keynes, so if you'd like a trip up here, then do feel free to pop in. It's an open campus, but here's the library, although most of you will be using the online library, which we spoke about earlier. But here's the physical library just over the road. See you in a minute.